how's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be taking a look at Apollo 18. This is a found footage horror film from 2011, directed by Gonzalo Lopez Gallego, and stars Warren Christie, Lloyd, Owen, and Ryan Robbins, and is also edited by Patrick Lussier, who has edited lots of classic horror films, as well as directing some of his own, so worth noting him there as well. And I do want to say, this is generally considered a found footage B-side, and it was a lot different than what I thought. I mean, look at the poster. It's basically the quarantine poster, but with an astronaut. I thought it would be dumb fun, people go into space, creature tears them apart. I thought it would be super cheesy. But it's not really cheesy, it's actually super serious, and if you guys are really into moon landing stuff, there's a ton of atmosphere and cool recreations of the whole moon landing vibe. It's a vibe, and if you can vibe with it, it's definitely there. But it's not the scariest, most in-depth thing ever, and I'll talk a bit about that in a second. But the plot is really simple for this. I'll do a brief synopsis, no significant spoilers, of course. But in this one, we open up with text explaining that on paper there was never an Apollo 18, it was canceled for budgetary reasons. However, the United States did a secret mission that nobody knows about, and recently the footage got out, and that's what we're seeing in this movie, and they link to a website, which I believe is no longer available, if you want to learn more information. So, you know, your found footage setup, this is all real, and then we get the footage, and we get to meet our astronauts. They're a bunch of, you know, likable, normal guys who are just happy to do their part, yet are still smart and serious. And they're going to go on this secret mission that not even their families know about. Their families think they're just going off to do some training for a while. Well, they're actually going up in space to put a radar dish on the moon that will help us out during the Cold War to do a little spying. However, when they get down there, they find a few things on the moon that they didn't think they would find up there. Evidence of a conspiracy, and of course, they're not going to exactly be alone. A pretty cool setup, and I guess, biggest pro first is it really does look a lot like the moon landing footage. And if you guys are into that, it's really cool to see these recreations, to see a really cool moon set, to see that tiny little claustrophobic lander. You get the two guys on the ground, and you get the one guy overhead who's gonna, you know, help them when they come back up. And it's, you know, it's really similar to the moon landing footage, and it's got that old school vibe, you know, to the point where it can be a little unrelatable sometimes because it does look like you're watching a really old strip of film, and I don't know, it kind of feels, I mean, it is heavily processed to get that look, but I'm jumping ahead of myself. Why I feel the movie isn't perfect is because it does get a little overly long sometimes. I mean, the movie's less than 90 minutes, even with their really long credits, but it feels a little long. It's not super scary, and that irrelatability factor, the inability to put you in these people's shoes, that did kind of get to me. So let me expand on those points. That long feeling, they get to the moon relatively quick, and I think there should have been more time on Earth spent with training and stuff, so you really get to know and care for these characters, because that's your hook to get you in the door, to latch on to your protagonist, and I think they do get to the moon a little too quick, you don't build up the human side as well as you should have. But once they're on the moon, we're playing essentially one note most of the time. There is a progression when what they find, starts to become more apparent and it starts to affect one of these people. And you do get more stuff, and it does build to a fun little ending sequence. But it is pretty much, we're alone on the moon and there's something out there. And there's not any significant amount of subplots, and there's not really a ton of twists and turns. And in turn, you, especially if you had seen the trailer, kind of just get the idea, the gist of where we're going and what's going to happen, and it's not super surprising or super riveting in that regard. And in regards to not being scary, like when you see the creatures from a distance on that grain, they look cool in the grain because it's like old footage, and wait, did something move in the background? But when you see what they are, it's just kind of yeah, okay, cool. You get these little things, but they never escalate into something bigger or more dangerous. And, you're trapped on the moon and there's something out there. It's a case of, I really, really wish that this was scarier, and it just didn't play out that way. It's just, there's our little problem right there. But the biggest thing is, that atmosphere is good, but it's hard to get in the shoes, I mentioned earlier they did skip over a lot of their potential character work, getting into the story relatively quick, but it's hard. I mean, especially with all of us not being astronauts, or at least most of us, I don't know who's watching, but it's hard to relate to such an extreme, crazy position, but you really need to put us in the shoes, and having this cool space, old-timey footage atmosphere, it's hard to really relate and even at times focus on the movie when so much of it is, Houston, yep, we are lowering the landing legs, yep, and it's hard to get in there. And also that does come down to the shot choice and what you do. If you want your found footage movie to pull you into the world, because it's supposed to look like it's real, and it does look like it's real, that's half of found footage, but also it's supposed to make you feel like you're really there. I feel that is a large part of found footage too, is you're supposed to feel like you're the one holding the camera. And in turn, good slow wide shots, good long point of view shots, and you have the long point of view shot of someone wandering through the hallway. That puts you there, but there's too many cuts, too many moments of shaky camera, too many disorienting moments where it's at points pretty hard to follow the action. It does get it where you don't feel like you're in the moment. You don't feel like you're in the capsule. The footage feels very realistic, but it's hard to be relatable. And also, you didn't get that character work at the beginning, and it disorienting you several times, and then having way too much astronaut chatter, you don't really get in the world as much as you need to be. So it's not executed perfect, but the idea is really different. It's not just cheesy found footage in space. It's, hey, let's recreate a moon landing and do a found footage movie, not just in space, but with a whole different atmosphere than most found footage movies. Even though it wasn't executed perfectly, it's a really good idea, and what it does well, this atmosphere is fun. Again, hard to relate to it with such a heavy filter placed over it. It's realistic, and I don't know if you should really change it, but it is hard to get into it. But it is that footage recreation done very well and done to a T, and it isn't what I thought it would be. It isn't that crazy, there's a monster on Mars or the moon and it's killing us all, and there's only 2 people and then 1 guy in space. You're not gonna have a big body count for this movie. And the thing is, like, this, I guess, would technically be better than Oh No, Moon Monster Kills Us. But at the same time, I might have had a better time with Oh No, Moon Monster Kills Us. So, I can give it major props for being different. I can give it props for trying to be serious and going out and really trying to recreate footage. It's just, it does what it did really well, but it just didn't pull me in. It didn't get me into this world, and I do think that is so super important. But as it stands, it's probably worth a watch, especially if you are space nerds. But as far as the storytelling and gripping aspect that I feel is so important, it didn't quite nail that. But I guess what I'm saying is it's a B-side. It's a fun and interesting and different B-side, but it's still a B-side. Overall, it's an okay movie, worth checking out if it sounds like something you're interested in. Just know the tone going into it. Anyway, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll leave a relevant playlist on the bottom. This should be my found footage movies playlist. If you want to see me talk about other found footage movies like Rec or VHS, I have a whole little playlist right here. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Relevant playlist on the bottom. Have a good day now.